Good day, Algebra 1, factoring by grouping. So here's the problems that we'll be working on today, factoring by grouping. And let's just get started with this first one here on the top. Okay, so we have 8r cubed minus 64r squared plus r minus 8. Now what we want to do when we're factoring by grouping is you kind of want to split these polynomials here apart. Okay, like so. So I need to figure out something that I could take out of this term. I'm going to factor something out here. And that looks like it's going to be an 8r squared. So if I factor out an 8r squared, what that leaves me with is r minus 8. Okay, because 8r squared times r, okay, factoring it back in gives me 8r cubed, and 8r squared times negative 8 gives me negative 64r squared. Okay, now I need to factor something out here of this second portion here. Something we need to factor out, and it looks like you could factor out a positive 1. Okay, leaving me r minus 8. Remember, you could always factor out this positive 1 because when I multiply this positive 1 back in, 1 times r leaves me r, and 1 times negative 8 leaves me negative 8. Okay, so you could always factor out a positive 1. Okay, next step, what we're going to do is factor out these r minus 8. Okay, we're going to factor out r minus 8. So kind of like this, they kind of get factored out. Okay, leaving me with 8r squared plus 1 times r minus 8. Okay, and here's our answer. 8r squared plus 1 times r minus 8. Alright, second problem here. 21k cubed minus 84k squared plus 15k minus 60. Okay, once again, we want to kind of split these apart like so. Okay, leaving this plus sign. Notice that this is different. Okay, if I do this, okay, now these two terms are being multiplied together. But by simply moving this parentheses on the other side of this plus sign, okay, now I'm adding all this stuff. So you kind of want to do that. You want to leave the sign here by itself when you're grouping. Okay, so let's find something. What can I factor out of this first one? Okay, factoring something out. What can I factor out of this first group here? And it looks like that's going to be a 21k squared. And what that leaves me with is k minus 4. Okay, because if I distribute this back in, 21k squared times k gives me 21k cubed. And 21k squared times negative 4 gives me this negative 84k squared. Okay, bringing that plus sign down. Now what can I factor out of this grouping here? Okay, what can I factor out? Remember, I want it to match this k minus 4. Okay, so 15k divided by, looks like 15. Leave me with k minus 4. Alright, because if I distribute this 15 back in, 15 times k gives me 15k, and 15 times negative 4 gives me this negative 60. Alright, next we're going to kind of factor out this k minus 4 from both of these terms. Okay, we're going to factor out this portion. We're factoring it out from what's left here. Okay, so we have 21k squared plus 15 times k minus 4. And to finish off, we're going to factor out one more time. What can we factor out of this group here? Looks like a 3. So we have 3. 21k squared divided by 3 leaves us 7k squared plus 5, and then k minus 4. Alright, so here's our answer. Alright, 4v cubed minus 12v squared minus 5v plus 15. So let's split this apart here at this point. And actually, I'm going to kind of move this over here a little bit, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to move that over just a little bit. Okay, so we're going to split this group here first. Now, 4v cubed minus 12v squared. What can I factor out? Okay, what can I factor out of this? And it looks like that's going to be a 4v squared. Okay, when I factor out 4v squared, that leaves me v minus 3. because 4v squared times v gives me 4v cubed. 4v squared times negative 3 gives me negative 12v squared. Okay, now the reason why I'm kind of moving this aside a little bit is because I'm going to go ahead and throw a plus sign here. Okay, that's not really changing anything. See, we had this. I'm just saying plus all this. All right, so what can we factor out of this group here? Remember, we want it to look like this, v minus 3. So negative 5v plus 15, how can I get that to turn into a v minus 3? What I'm going to do is factor out a negative 5. Okay, that's going to leave me positive v minus 3. Because when I multiply negative 5 times v, I get negative 5v. Negative 5 times negative 3 leaves me this positive 15. Okay, now factoring out this v minus 3, factoring it out, I get 4v squared minus 5. Okay, that's here and here. And what's left is this v minus 3. We just factored that out. So we have v minus 3. And here's our answer. Alright, here's our next problem. 49x cubed minus 35x squared plus 56x minus 40. So once again, we kind of want to split these apart here. Okay, leaving that plus sign kind of there. That's not changing anything. Remember, you could group things together here like this, and it doesn't actually change anything. So if I group this together, it still remains the same polynomial. And the reason why is because I didn't group it on the other side of this plus sign. See, now these are being multiplied together. But if I group it on this side of this plus sign, well, now these two things are being added, which means it all stays the same. All right, so what am I going to factor out of this here? Okay, what can we factor out? It looks like it's going to be a 7x squared. What that leaves me with is 7x minus 5. Okay, because 7x squared times 7x gives me 49x cubed. 7x squared times negative 5 gives me this negative 35x squared. Okay, bringing that plus sign down. Now what can we factor out of this top group here? We're going to factor something out. The second grouping here, and we need to get it to end up looking like this. We're going to factor something out, and whatever's left over, we want it to match this. So, looks like that's going to be a positive 8. Okay, so if I factor out a positive 8, 56 divided by 8, that leaves me this 7x. 56x divided by 8 leaves me 7x, and minus 5. Because 8 times 7x gives me positive 56x, and 8 times negative 5 leaves me this negative 40. Okay, now we're going to factor out this and this. Okay, we're factoring these out. So we have 7x squared plus 8. Okay, that's here and here. And times 7x minus 5. Okay, here's our answer. 7x squared plus 8 times 7x minus 5. Alright, here's our last problem here. 25v cubed plus 5v squared plus 30v plus 6. Alright, so we want to kind of group them like this. And we need to factor out something out of this first one here. And that looks like it's going to be a 5v squared. Okay, if I factor out a 5v squared, that leaves me with 5v plus 1. Okay, 5v squared times 5v gives me 25v cubed. 5v squared times positive 1 gives me this positive 5v squared. Alright, now we need to factor something out of this group here. And we want it to match whatever we factor out. We want this to be what remains. So how can I get a 30v to turn into a 5v? And that's what we're going to factor out is a positive 6. Okay, leaving me 5v plus 1. Okay, 6 times 5v gives me 30v, and 6 times 1 gives me 6. All right, now factoring one more time here. Factoring one more time, we're going to factor these out. So what we're left with is 5v squared plus 6 times 5v plus 1. Okay, remember, we're just factoring this and this out. We're factoring it out. So here's our answer. Here's what we get for our answer here. 5v squared plus 6 times 5v plus 1. Alright, just want to thank you for making it to the end of this short video on factoring by grouping. If you like these type of videos, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thank you.